Out of difficulties grow miracles. We are afraid of the old age which we may never attain. A man reveals his character even in the simplest things he does. A man can keep another's secret better than his own, a woman her own better than others. We keep a special place in our hearts for people who refuse to be impressed by us. Not to be able to bear with all bad-tempered people with whom the world is crowded shows that a man has not a good temper himself. If poverty is the mother of all crimes, lack of intelligence is their father. If it is true that one is poor on account of all the things one wants, the ambitious and the avaricious languish in extreme poverty. Generosity lies less in giving much than in giving at the right moment. Men are willing to be slaves in one place if they can only lord it in another. Time, which strengthens friendship, weakens love. The pleasure of criticism takes away from us the pleasure of being deeply moved by very fine things. It is better to expose ourselves to ingratitude than to neglect our duty to the distressed. One seeks to make the loved one entirely happy, or, if that cannot be, entirely wretched. We can recognize the dawn and the decline of love by the uneasiness we feel when alone together. The very essence of politeness is to take care that by our words and actions we make other people pleased with us, as well as with themselves. If some persons died, and others did not die, death would indeed be a terrible affliction. A wise man is cured of ambition by ambition itself. His aim is so exalted that riches, office, fortune, and favor cannot satisfy him. The same principle leads us to neglect a man of merit that induces us to admire a fool. Those who make the worst use of their time are the first to complain of its shortness. The unnamed should not be mistaken for the non-existent. When a book raises your spirit and inspires you with noble and manly thoughts, seek for no other test of its excellence. It is good and made by a good workman. A man has made great progress in cunning when he does not seem too clever to others. There are some men who turn a deaf ear to reason and good advice, and willfully go wrong for fear of being controlled. Most men make use of the first part of their life to render the last part miserable. Sudden love takes the longest time to be cured. The most exquisite pleasure is giving pleasure to others. There are only 3 events in a man's life: birth, life, and death. He is not conscious of being born. He dies in pain, and he forgets to live. Those who make the worst use of their time are the first to complain of its brevity. Such a great misfortune, not to be able to be alone. As favor and riches forsake a man, we discover in him the foolishness they concealed, and which no one perceived before. The pleasure of criticizing takes away from us the pleasure of being moved by some very fine things. Life is a tragedy for those who feel, and a comedy for those who think. Two persons cannot long be friends if they cannot forgive each other's little failings. A man is rich whose income is larger than his expenses, and he is poor if his expenses are greater than his income. Grief at the absence of a loved one is happiness compared to life with a person one hates. There is no road too long to the man who advances deliberately and without undue haste. There are no honors too distant to the man who prepares himself for them with patience. Everything has been said, and we are more than 7,000 years of human thought too late. A person's worth in this world is estimated according to the value they put on themselves. No vice exists which does not pretend to be more or less like some virtue, and which does not take advantage of this assumed resemblance. That we seldom repent of talking too little and very often of talking too much is maxim that everybody knows and nobody practices. To laugh at men of sense is the privilege of fools. The shortest and best way to make your fortune is to let people see clearly that it is in their interest to promote yours. All the intelligence in the world is useless to the one who has none. Death happens but once, yet we feel it every moment of our lives. It is worse to dread it than to suffer it. The same common sense which makes an author write good things makes him dread they are not good enough to deserve reading. Such a great misfortune not to be able to be alone.